Montessori Grandma.
Botany, Part 6. The first classification of the plant kingdom. A Montessori lesson, retold and presented by Geeta Vijaychandran. What are plants? Plants are living beings that are able to do things that animals are not able to do. Plants came first because they could do things that animals could not do. Plants do not depend on animals, but animals depend on plants. Plants are self-sufficient and can make their own food. Animals depend on plants for food. How do plants help animals? Plants are able to take in inorganic substances and transform them to organic substances. Mineral salts are inorganic, and along with other things, they are made into organic substances. They take in mineral substances, nourish themselves with that, and so they become food for animals and human beings. Let us now look at the first classification of the plant kingdom. Montessori made a chart for presenting the classification of the plant kingdom. In the chart she made, she had added protists, monorans, and fungi, as they were first considered to be plants. But now they have a kingdom of their own. So when we make a chart, we need to omit these. This is the first classification chart that Montessori made many years ago. But now the monoran protists and fungi have their own kingdoms. So when we make the chart, we need to omit the part which you can see on the left side of the chart. Now let us look at two ways charts have been classified. One way shows plant kingdom grouped into cryptogams and phanerogams. Then cryptogams are further grouped into non-vascular and vascular. So pteridophyte comes under cryptogams, vascular plants. In another chart, we can see plant kingdom is grouped into non-vascular, that is bryophyta, and vascular, which is trachyphyta. Pteridophyta, being vascular plants, come under trachyphytes. You may come across many more variations in charts. Here is one version of the plant kingdom chart. In this chart, we can see the plant kingdom has been classified into two, cryptogams and phanerogams. And cryptogams are again divided into two, non-vascular plants and vascular plants. And non-vascular plants are thallophyta, bryophyta, and vascular plants are pteridophytes. And in the phanerogams, we can see they are all vascular plants, and they're divided into two, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Here is a chart some Montessori schools use. Here it is the other way. The plant kingdom is divided into non-vascular plants and vascular plants. And then you can see the vascular plants, that is bryophytes on one side, and the trachyphytes on the other side. Next, we can find a lot of variations in charts, and this chart that is another which has a different variation. So here the plants are divided into cryptogams and phanerogams. You can see cryptogams have thallophyta, bryophyta, and pteridophyta, and phanerogams have spermatophyta, and that is again divided into gymnosperms and angiosperms. So this is another way charts are classified, a plant kingdom is classified. Let us look at the difference between the plant and animal kingdom charts. In plant kingdom, only one chart is used, no blank chart. So one chart acts as both. We have a huge chart which can be folded along the middle. Plant kingdom is the title and the example is a birch tree. Background is in dark green and light green for working part. We find the same 38 plants as earlier. We see 16 pictures glued down. The other pictures are loose and have to be kept on the blank space found on the chart. Here, plants are classified into two groups. The left side has simpler plants and those that came earlier. This is called cryptogams. On the right, we have the more advanced ones and are called phanerogams. Let us look at the plant kingdom chart. Presentation 1. The two subkingdoms of plants are cryptogams and phanerogams. Another name for cryptogam is sporophytes, and another name for phanerogam is spermatophytes. Now let us look at cryptogams. What are cryptogams or sporophytes? A cryptogam is a plant that reproduces by spores without flowers or seeds. It is a non-flowering and non-seed-bearing plant group. Cryptogams comes from the Greek word kryptos, meaning hidden, and gammas, meaning marriage, so hidden sex cells. Algae, mosses, and ferns are some of the examples of cryptogams. What are phanerogams or spermatophytes? Phanerogams are plants that bear seeds. Spermatophyte is another term for this type of plant. The plant's body is divided into three parts: the root, the stem, and the leaves. In this chart, you can see the difference between cryptogams and phanerogams. So you can see cryptogams are seedless plants or plant-like organisms, whereas phanerogams are referred to as seed-bearing plants. In cryptogams, the subkingdom in the kingdom Plantae is called cryptogame, and the subkingdom in the kingdom Plantae is called phanerogame. They reproduce by spores, and the reproductive organs are hidden in the cryptogams, whereas in the phanerogams they reproduce using seeds, and the reproductive organs are exposed. The cryptogams, they are less evolved plants, and phanerogams, they are highly evolved plants. So these are the main differences. After the first presentation, we will move on to the second presentation. And in this, we are looking at the first line, that is cryptogams and phanerogams. And then we can look at cryptogams that can be divided as non-vascular or vascular. And these are divided into three divisions: Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta. Phanerogams are vascular plants and have one division. They are Spermatophyta. So next we need to bring out the pictures and labels and keep them on the specific places on the chart. Then we move on to doing the second and third periods as we usually do, to emphasize the characteristics and also to see that the children have understood what we have just presented. Then we move on to the third presentation, Thallophyta. The Thallophyta is a division of the subkingdom Cryptogam, which includes primitive forms of plant life showing a simple plant body. These include unicellular to large algae. Thallo means simple or undifferentiated. Thallophytes are considered simple or lower plants. They are characterized by a basic undifferentiated body, that is a thallus, lacking true roots, stems, and leaves. They are primitive, non-vascular organisms often found in moist environments and include many photosynthetic forms like algae that make their own food. Let's look at algae. Algae is a simple, non-flowering and typically aquatic plant of a large group that includes the seaweeds and many single-celled forms. Algae contains chlorophyll but lacks true stems, roots, leaves, and vascular tissue. Algae are chlorophyll-bearing, simple, autotrophic, thalloid, and largely aquatic organisms. That means they are present in both freshwater and marine. Algae comes from the Latin word meaning seaweed. They occur in a variety of other habitats too, like soils, moist stones, and even wood. Thallophyta was classified into two subdivisions earlier, that is algae and fungi. But fungi now has its own kingdom. Let us look at examples of algae. So they have green algae, red algae, and brown algae. One example of green algae is Spirogyra, Chara, Volvox, and Eulothrix. Examples of red algae are Polysiphonia, Porphyra, Gracilaria, Gelidium. Examples of brown algae are Tocorpus, Dictyota, Laminaria, Sargassum, and Fucus. Bryophytes. Bryophytes are non-vascular, non-flowering plants, which means they have no roots or vascular tissue. But instead, they absorb water and nutrients from the air through their surface, that is, through their leaves. They thrive in moist environments and play essential roles in soil formation, moisture retention, and as pollution indicators. Now let us look at bryophytes in more detail. Bryophytes include liverworts and mosses found commonly in moist and shady habitats. The plant body is thallus-like or differentiated into stem and leaf-like structures. The bryophytes possess root-like, leaf-like, and stem-like structures. However, these lack true vascular tissues. A division of small flowerless green plants which comprises the mosses and liverworts. They lack true roots and produced by spores released from a stalked capsule. Let us look at the important characteristics. The plant body is a gametophyte that bears male and female sex organs, that is, antheridia and archegonia. Sporophytes are dependent on the gametophyte for nutrient supply. The dominant phase is gametophyte. They depend on water for reproduction. They lie in a transitional phase between algae and pteridophytes. Bryophytes are classified into three divisions. They are Mercantiophyta, example is liverworts, Anthroceratophyta, hornworts, and Bryopsida, mosses. Liverworts belong to the class Hepaticopsida. Moss belongs to the class Funaria. Hornworts belong to the class Anthoceratopsida. We saw that plants are divided into groups based on the traits that they have in common. Let us recoup what we have done so far. We looked at one of the two main groups, bryophytes, that are non-vascular plants. That means plants with no roots, stems, or leaves. We will now look at the next group called Trachyophytes, that is Pteridophyta and Spermatophyta. Trachyophytes are vascular plants, plants that use stems and veins to transport food and water. Before we move on, let us arrange all the pictures and labels of what we have done so far on the chart. Presentation 4. Pteridophyta are vascular cryptogams. Pteridophytes are the earliest terrestrial plants with well-developed vascular tissues, that is, they have xylem and phloem tubes. They occupy an intermediate position between bryophytes and higher plants. So here you can see the chart. Characteristics of pteridophytes. The plant body is a sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stem, and leaves. Leaves vary from small, simple microphyls, like in Lycopodium, with a single vein, to large, complex megaphyls, like fronds, in ferns with branched veins. Vascular tissues, so xylem and phloem are present. Spores produced in sporangia are borne in sporophylls. Sporophylls are arranged spirally to form compact strobili or cones. Spores germinate to form gametophytes. Pteridophytes are typically grouped into four classes. Psilopsida, that is example is whisk ferns. Lycopsida, example are club mosses. Phenopsida are horsetails. Pteropsida Examples are ferns. These classes showcase varying degrees of complexity in true roots, stems, and leaves. Only 3 are seen on the chart. Once we have done up to presentation 4, we have to go on to presentation 5. But before that, we have to be sure the children have understood what pteridophytes are. Because presentation 5 deals with phanerogams. So let us look at phanerogams now. We need to remember that phanerogams are divided into 2 groups, spore-producing plants and seed-producing plants. We saw sporophytes-producing plants were called pteridophytes. This was considered under cryptogams vascular plants. Seed-producing plants are called spermatophytes. Spermatophytes or seed plants are the most dominant land plants characterized by their ability to produce seeds for reproduction, unlike mosses or ferns. They possess advanced vascular tissues, that is, xylem and phloem, for water and nutrient transport, enabling them to thrive in diverse terrestrial environments. Spermatophyta are divided into 2 groups. Non-flowering plants called gymnosperms have naked seeds, example conifers, and flowering plants called angiosperms have seeds enclosed in a fruit. Flowering plants include monocots, that is, 1 seed leaf, and dicots, 2 seed leaves. These are plants which produce seeds. Gymnosperms are seed-producing vascular plants whose seeds are not enclosed within an ovary or fruit. Gymnos means naked and sperma means seed. That means they produce naked seeds, not in an ovary or in a fruit. Examples are conifers, pines and firs, cycads, and ginkgo. Angiosperms or flowering plants comes from the Greek word angion, means vessel or container, and sperma means seed, meaning seeds in a vessel. They produce flowers and seeds enclosed within a fruit. Examples are most familiar plants include grasses, trees, vegetables, and flowers. Angiosperms or flowering plants include monocotyledons, also called monocots, and dicotyledons called dicots. Monocot plants have 1 seed leaf. Dicot plants have 2 seed leaves. These are plants which produce seeds. So you can see the pictures here. And you can also see how monocots and dicot flowers are also different. Once we finish the chart, then we can move on to going and looking at other charts, other ways of plant classification. So here we bring out the chart where it is the plant kingdom is divided into non-vascular and vascular plants, that is bryophyta and tracheophyta. And then we go through it and you can see how they have been divided. So we go into details. This is not the end of classification of plants. There are many more ways plants can be classified. But for now, we are taking a break. Thank you for watching. This is Geeta Vijayachandran signing off.
Montessori Grandma.